The gunshot echoed through the marble penthouse. Kim Tan didn't flinch. He'd heard that sound 1,000 times in his 35 years ruling Seoul's underworld. But tonight, with his hands covered in his own blood and a 3-month-old baby screaming in the next room, everything was different. "Get out!" he told the men standing in his doorway. His voice was ice. "Before I change my mind about letting you live." Park Ji-hoon, his second-in-command, stepped forward. "Hyungnim, you can't keep doing this. It's been 6 hours. The baby won't stop crying. You need help." 6 hours. Had it really been that long? Tan looked down at his shaking hands. When had they started trembling? These hands had never shaken before. Not when he'd taken over his father's empire at 22. Not when he'd unified Seoul's criminal families under one rule. Not even when they'd pulled his wife's lifeless body from the delivery room 3 months ago. But a crying baby had broken him. Let's rewind. 12 hours earlier, Kim Tan sat in a private room at Golden Tiger Club in Gangnam, surrounded by Seoul's most dangerous men. Lee Kang-dae, 60 years old and covered in scars from 3 decades of gang wars. Choi Min-sok, the accountant who'd made them all millionaires through legitimate business fronts. Kwon Sung-min, young, hungry, dangerous. "The Busan faction is pushing into Itaewon," Kang-dae said, sliding photos across the table. "They hit 2 of our clubs last week, sent 3 of our boys to the hospital." Tan barely glanced at the photos. His phone buzzed. Another message from the nanny. "He won't stop crying. I don't know what to do." "Hyungnim?" Sungmin's voice cut through his thoughts. "Are you even listening?" Tan's eyes snapped up. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "Say that again, Sungmin." Slowly. The younger man realized his mistake immediately. "I just meant, we need your focus. The Empire needs." "The Empire?" Tan stood slowly. "You think I built all this by letting disrespect slide? By allowing dogs like you to question me?" His phone buzzed again. "Mr. Kim, I really need you to come home." "Something's wrong." Tan grabbed his jacket. "Ji-hoon handles Busan. Meeting's over." As he walked out, he heard Sung-min mutter to Kang-dae, "He's going soft, playing daddy while we lose territory." Tan paused at the door. Didn't turn around. Just spoke into the silence. "Sung-min, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. This time." If you're already hooked, smash that subscribe button. This story is about to get wild, and you don't want to miss what happens next. The penthouse in Hanam-dong, Seoul's most exclusive neighborhood, should have been a sanctuary. $40 million views, imported Italian marble, custom furniture that cost more than most people made in a year. But when Tan walked through that door at midnight, it was hell. Baby Ji-hoon's screams hit him like a physical force. The nanny, Mrs. Baek, the 3rd one in 3 months, stood in the living room, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, Mr. Kim. I've tried everything. Formula, rocking, singing, swaddling. He just won't stop. I think something's really wrong." Tan took his son from her arms. The baby's face was red, almost purple from crying. His little fists waved in the air, desperate, reaching for something that wasn't there. "You can go," Tan said quietly. "But Mr. Kim, I said go." Mrs. Beck gathered her things and left. The door clicked shut, and suddenly Tan was alone with this tiny, furious creature who wouldn't stop screaming. He tried holding him, walking, bouncing, nothing worked. At 2 a.m., he called his personal doctor. Dr. Kim Soo-hyun arrived within 20 minutes. That's what you get when you pay someone $1 million a month on retainer. The doctor examined Ji-hoon thoroughly. Temperature, reflexes, stomach, ears, throat, everything. "There's nothing physically wrong, Mr. Kim." Dr. Kim packed his bag. "Some babies just cry more than others. He's fed, changed, not sick. Sometimes they just need time." "Time?" Tan's voice was dangerous. "My son has been crying for 5 hours straight. Don't tell me about time." "I'm sorry, I don't know what else to tell you. Perhaps a specialist? There's a pediatric sleep consultant from—" "Get out." Alone again. Ji-hoon's cries seemed to pierce directly into Tan's brain. He'd faced down rival gangs, negotiated with politicians, ordered deaths without hesitation. But this he couldn't fix. He found himself walking to the window, staring out at Seoul's glittering skyline. Somewhere down there, people were sleeping peacefully, living normal lives, not being destroyed by a 10-pound baby who wouldn't stop crying. His reflection in the glass looked like a stranger. Dishevelled hair, unbuttoned shirt, shadows under his eyes. When had he become this person? The phone on the side table showed a photo of his wife. Yoon Mirai. Beautiful. Sharp. The daughter of the Incheon crime family who'd married him to unite their territories. A political arrangement that had somehow become real love. "I don't know how to do this without you," he whispered to the photo. "He needs you. I need you." Ji-hoon's cries intensified, and Tan felt something crack inside his chest. At 4:30 in the morning, with Ji-hoon still screaming and Tan's sanity hanging by a thread, he did something he'd never done before. He Googled for help. Baby won't stop crying. Why do babies reject formula? Wet nurse Seoul. Alternative feeding methods. Page after page of useless advice. Then, buried in a refugee support forum, he found it. A post from someone called Adesua_N. "Nursing mother here. If any struggling mothers need help, I'm available. We've all been there. Located in Seongbuk area." Posted 2 days ago from an account with a Nigerian flag emoji. Tan stared at the screen. A refugee? Living in a shelter? This was insane, but Ji-hoon's cries were reaching a pitch that sounded almost inhuman, and Tan was out of options. He dialed Ji-hoon. "Youngnim?" His second answered immediately. Always did. "It's 4:30 in the... I need you to find someone now." Tan gave him the information from the forum. "Seongbuk Women's Shelter. Someone named Adesua. Nursing mother. Nigerian. Find her and bring her here." Silence on the other end. "Did you hear me?" "Hyungnim, are you sure? A refugee? This could complicate things with immigration, with..." "My son is dying, Ji-hoon." Tan's voice cracked. Actually cracked. For the first time in 20 years. "I don't care about complications. I don't care about exposure. I care about keeping him alive. Find her." "Yes, Hyungnim? Give me 2 hours." 2 hours felt like 2 years. Tan walked circles around his living room, Ji-hoon screaming in his arms. He tried singing, though he couldn't remember the last time he'd sung anything. He tried talking in a soft voice, though his voice had only ever been used for commands and threats. Nothing worked. At some point he realized he was crying too. Silent tears running down his face as he held his son. "Please," he whispered to the baby. To God, to whoever was listening. "Please just tell me what you need." The doorbell rang at 6:45 a.m. Tan practically ran to the door, still holding the screaming Ji-hoon. Park Ji-hoon stood there with a woman Tan had never seen before. She was tall, dark-skinned, wearing worn jeans and a faded jacket that had clearly seen better days. Her hair was pulled back in a simple style, and she carried a sleeping baby in a wrap against her chest. But her eyes were clear, direct, and completely unafraid. "Mr. Kim," she said in perfect Korean with just a hint of an accent. "I'm Adesua Osakwe. Your associate said you needed help with your son." Tan couldn't speak. Ji-hoon's cries filled the silence. Ada's expression shifted immediately from cautious to concerned. "How long has he been crying like this?" 7 hours, maybe 8. I've lost count. May I see him?" Tan hesitated. He'd never let a stranger touch his son before. But desperation overrode instinct. He nodded. Ada stepped inside and her eyes swept over the penthouse, the luxury, the obvious wealth, without any readable reaction. She set her bag down and gently reached for Ji-hoon. "What's his name?" she asked softly. "Ji-hoon." "Hello, Ji-hoon." Her voice changed completely, warm, melodic, soothing. She cradled him against her chest and began swaying in a gentle rhythm. "I hear you, little one. I hear you." Then she did something unexpected. She started humming. Not a Korean lullaby, something else. Something foreign and beautiful that Tan had never heard before. Ji-hoon's cries didn't stop immediately, but they changed, became less desperate, more like protests than panic. Ada sat down on the couch, still swaying, still humming. Then she adjusted her shirt and began nursing him. The change was almost instant. Ji-hoon latched on and began feeding hungrily. The screaming stopped. Actual silence filled the penthouse for the first time in 8 hours. Tan's knees gave out. He literally sank to the floor, back against the wall, and buried his face in his hands. Park Ji-hoon stood awkwardly by the door, unsure what to do with this display of vulnerability from a man who'd never shown weakness before. Minutes passed. The only sound was Ji-hoon's contented feeding. Finally, Ada spoke quietly. When did his mother pass? Tan looked up. 3 months ago. Emergency C-section. She bled out before they could save her. I'm sorry. And the way she said it, simple, genuine, made Tan believe she actually was. Has he been feeding well since then? We've tried everything. Every formula brand. He takes some, but never enough. Loses weight. Cries constantly. The doctors say nothing's medically wrong, but you know something is, Ada finished. She looked down at Ji-hoon, now peacefully drinking, his tiny hand resting against her skin. Formula can give him nutrients, but it can't give him this connection, a heartbeat, warmth, the feeling of being held by someone who's done this before. She looked up at Tan, and her eyes were kind but direct. Your son wasn't just starving for food, Mr. Kim. He was starving for a mother. The words hit Tan like a knife to the chest. Drop a like if this story is hitting different. And comment below. Have you ever felt completely helpless? Let's talk about it. An hour later, Ji-hoon was asleep in Ada's arms. Actually peacefully asleep. Not that fitful, stressed sleep that lasted 20 minutes before more screaming. Real sleep. Tan had showered, changed clothes, tried to look like himself again. But he felt fundamentally altered. Exposed. Ada sat in his living room, her own daughter still sleeping in the wrap, gently rocking his son. Ji-hoon had left quietly, sensing this conversation needed to be private. I'll pay you whatever you want, Tan said, getting straight to business. That's what he knew. Transactions. 10 million won per week. 20. Name your price. Ada looked at him for a long moment. I'm not for sale, Mr. Kim. Everyone has a price. Everyone has needs, she corrected. But that's not the same thing. Tan frowned. Then what do you need? Legal residency status for me and my daughter. F2 visa, properly processed. Safe housing away from the shelter. Continued support for my nursing education at Seoul National University. Healthcare for both children. And a guarantee, a real guarantee, that you will never involve me or my daughter in anything illegal. Tan blinked. That's complicated. So is keeping a baby alive when he's rejecting all conventional care. Ada's voice was steady. Your choice, Mr. Kim. You want my help? Those are my terms. Immigration paperwork takes months, sometimes years. Then I guess your son has months to wait. She said it without malice. Just fact. They stared at each other across the expensive living room, a Nigerian refugee and Seoul's most dangerous crime lord, neither willing to blink. Finally, Tan spoke. 1 month, trial period. You stay here with your daughter. I provide everything you've asked for and I start the immigration paperwork immediately. We see if this works for Ji-hoon. At the end of the month, we renegotiate. Fairly. As equals? Ada raised an eyebrow. As equals, Tan agreed, though the word felt foreign in his mouth. Why does that word bother you so much? Ada asked, and there was genuine curiosity in her tone. Because in my world, there are no equals. There are people above you and people below you. That's how you survive. And look where that's gotten you. Ada glanced down at Ji-hoon, alone, desperate, broken by a baby you love but don't know how to help. The words should have made Tan angry. Instead, they just made him tired. You're brave, he said quietly. Or foolish. I haven't decided which. I'm a mother, Ada replied. I survived Boko Haram burning my village. I watched my husband die protecting us. I crossed the Sahara Desert with a baby on my back. I lived in refugee camps where people died from dehydration and disease. Your money doesn't scare me, Mr. Kim. Your reputation doesn't scare me. I've seen real monsters. You're just a man trying to protect his son. That makes us the same where it counts. Silence filled the room. 1 month, Tan finally said, but you live here, both of you, in the guest wing. I need you close if something happens with Jihoon. Separate quarters, privacy for me and my daughter. Done. They shook hands. Ada's grip was firm, steady. What happened to your husband? Tan asked as she stood to leave for her things. Ada paused. Chibok. 2014. Boko Haram attacked during a wedding. My husband Emeka held them off long enough for some of us to escape. He didn't make it. And you came to Korea? Through Niger, Libya, Italy, and finally here. It took 3 years. But Kioma deserves a life without fear. Without running. She looked at Jihoon. Just like your son deserves a life where he's not constantly hungry for something he can't name. After she left to get her belongings, Tan stood alone in his silent penthouse for the first time in 8 hours. His phone rang. Kang Dai. We have a problem. Busan made a move on... Handle it, Tan cut him off. But Hyungnim... I said handle it. Jihoon is in charge of operations until further notice. He hung up, turned off his phone. And for the first time in his adult life, Kim Tan chose to prioritize something other than his empire. The first week was chaos. Ada moved into the guest wing with Kioma. And suddenly Tan's pristine, silent penthouse was filled with baby sounds, cooking smells, and the rhythms of a completely different culture. She took over part of the kitchen, much to Chef Lee's horror. Spices Tan had never heard of appeared in his cabinets. Palm oil, egusi, dried crayfish. The whole place smelled different. One morning, Tan found her cooking something that looked like thick soup with chunks of vegetables and meat. What is that? He asked. Egusi soup, Ada replied, stirring the pot. Nigerian. If I'm going to be living here, Kioma needs to eat her own food. Remember her culture. We have a chef for... Your chef doesn't know how to cook Nigerian food. And before you offer to hire one who does, save your money. I'm perfectly capable of cooking. Tan watched her move around the kitchen with easy confidence. You speak Korean very well. I studied for 2 years in the refugee camp and here in Seoul. I'm going to be a nurse. Can't treat patients if I can't speak to them. Why nursing? Ada paused, looked at him. Because in the camps, people died from things that shouldn't kill anyone. Simple infections, dehydration, complications from childbirth. I watched women lose babies because there was no one who knew how to help. I promised myself, if I survived, if I made it somewhere safe, I would learn. So no other mother would have to watch her baby die from something preventable. The way she said it, matter of fact, no self-pity, made Tan realize this woman had seen horrors he could only imagine. Try it, Ada said, ladling some soup into a bowl. I don't... Try it. Tan took the bowl, tried a spoonful. It was rich, spicy, completely unlike anything he'd ever tasted. It's good. You sound surprised. I am, about a lot of things lately. That night, both babies woke up crying at 2 a.m. Tan found himself in the hallway at the same time as Ada, both of them exhausted, hair messy, operating on autopilot. They exchanged looks. Ada actually laughed. Welcome to parenthood, Mr. Kim. Call me Tan. If we're going to be doing this together, use my name. Tan. She tested the name. I'm Ada. Just Ada. Over the next few days, Ada taught Tan things no one had ever taught him. How to support Jihoon's head properly. How to read his different cries, hungry versus tired versus uncomfortable. How to do tummy time. How to burp him correctly. You're treating him like he's made of glass, Ada said one afternoon, adjusting Tan's hold. He's sturdy. Babies are designed to survive. He's so small. He's perfect. Look, he's smiling at you. Tan looked down. Jihoon was indeed smiling, a gummy, drooling smile that did something strange to Tan's chest. He never smiled before, Tan said quietly, because he was scared and hungry and stressed. Now he's not. Now he knows he's safe. One evening, Tan found Ada and Kioma in the nursery with Jihoon. Ada was singing, that same beautiful melody from the first morning, while both babies lay on a blanket, looking up at her. "What language is that?" Tan asked from the doorway. "Edo, my mother tongue. I sing it to Chioma so she doesn't forget where she comes from." "Will you go back? To Nigeria?" Ada was quiet for a moment. "Maybe someday, when it's safe. But Korea gave us a chance when we had nothing. I won't forget that. Kioma was born in a refugee camp in Libya. Korea is the first place she's ever had a real home." "Is this a home?" Tan gestured to the penthouse. "Or just a fancy prison?" Ada looked at him seriously. "That depends on you, doesn't it? Whether you see us as employees or people. Subscribe if you want to see where this impossible relationship goes. Trust me, you're not ready for what happens next." 6 weeks into the arrangement, Jihoon was thriving. He'd gained weight, slept through the night, smiled constantly. Ada had transformed him. But the outside world was noticing Tan's distraction. The emergency meeting was called at Golden Tiger Club. All the key players, Lee Kang-dae, Choi Min-seok, Kwon Sung-min, Park Ji-hoon. They sat around the private room, and the tension was thick enough to cut. "The Busan faction hit 3 more of our clubs," Kang-dae reported. "They're not just testing us anymore, they're actually taking territory." "And the Japanese are sniffing around our shipping operations," Min-seok added. "They think we're weak." Tan checked his phone. Baby monitor app showing Jihoon and Chioma napping peacefully. Ada was studying in the corner of the frame, textbooks spread around her. "Jihoon handles operations," Tan said without looking up. "You all report to him until—" "Until when?" Sungmin's voice cut through the room. "Until you finish playing house with that refugee." The room went silent. Tan slowly put his phone down, looked at Sungmin with eyes that had made grown men beg for their lives. "Say that again, Sungmin. Carefully." The younger man realized his mistake but was too proud to back down completely. "Hyungnim, with respect. The organization needs your attention, not part of it, all of it. We're losing ground because you're distracted by my son." Tan's voice was quiet, deadly. "By the fact that I'm trying to keep my 3-month-old alive? By the fact that you've installed some Nigerian woman we know nothing about into your home. She could be anyone. Working for anyone." Tan stood slowly. "You want to talk about who she is? Fine. Her name is Adeswa Osakwe. She's 27 years old. She survived a Boko Haram attack that killed her husband. She crossed a desert with a 4-month-old baby. She lived in refugee camps where people died every day. She's studying to be a nurse while working 16-hour days taking care of my son and her daughter. She saved Jihoon's life when every doctor in Seoul failed." He walked around the table towards Sungmin. "And you want to disrespect her? In my presence? As if she's somehow beneath us?" Sungmin's face paled. "I didn't mean—" "You meant exactly what you said. That I'm weak. That fatherhood makes me vulnerable. That caring about my son, more than territory and money, is a mistake." Tan was now standing directly over Sungmin. "I've killed men for less disrespect. Should I make you an example?" "Hyungnim," Jihoon tried to intervene. Tan held up a hand. "I'm giving you all a choice right now. Anyone who thinks I'm weak because I love my son can leave. Walk out that door. I'll even give you severance pay. Or you can challenge me directly. Right here. Right now." No one moved. "My son almost died," Tan said to the room. "I will never apologize for saving him. I will never apologize for putting him first. If that makes me weak in your eyes, then you don't understand what real strength is." He sat back down. Jihoon handles Busan. Minsok handles the Japanese. Kangdai handles internal security. I trust you. Do your jobs. Meeting over. As they filed out, Jihoon stayed behind. They're not entirely wrong, Hyungnim, he said quietly. You are vulnerable now, in ways you weren't before. I know, Tan admitted. But Jihoon, for the first time in my life, I have something worth being vulnerable for. My son smiles at me now. Do you understand? He smiles. 3 months ago he was dying. Now he's thriving. That's worth more than all our territory combined. Jihoon nodded slowly. What happens when the Empire comes for that? When they decide your weakness is an opportunity? Then I protect what's mine, Tan said, by any means necessary. The papers arrived on a Thursday afternoon. Tan was in a rare moment of peace. Jihoon was napping, Ada was at university for her classes, Chioma was with a trusted babysitter. He was actually getting work done. Then the doorman called up. Mr. Kim, there are attorneys here to see you. They say it's urgent. 3 lawyers entered his penthouse. Expensive suits, cold eyes. Led by a woman named Shin Mi-young from Seoul's most prestigious law firm. Mr. Kim, we represent Yoon Tae-sik, grandfather of Kim Ji-hoon. We're here to serve you with custody papers. Tan's blood went cold. Excuse me? Attorney Shin placed documents on his coffee table. Mr. Yoon is filing for emergency custody of his grandson. Given your occupation, your criminal associations, and recent living arrangements, he believes Ji-hoon's current environment is unsuitable. I'm his father. You're a known criminal, Shin said simply, and you've installed an undocumented immigrant as his primary caregiver. A refugee with no background checks, no credentials, no legal standing in this country. The courts will find this deeply concerning. Tan opened the documents. Legal language. But the message was clear. Yoon Tae-sik wanted to take his son. This is about Mirai, Tan said quietly. He blames me for her death. Mr. Yoon's daughter died bringing your child into this world. He believes he owes it to her memory to ensure Ji-hoon is raised properly, in a legitimate household, not by a gangster and his refugee mistress. She's not my... Tan stopped, took a breath. Ms. Osakwe is Ji-hoon's caregiver. Nothing more. Then you won't mind if that comes out in court? Shin gathered her papers. Preliminary hearing is in 2 weeks. I suggest you get legal representation. Good luck, Mr. Kim. After they left, Tan stood alone in his living room, papers clutched in his hand. The door opened. Ada came in, bags of groceries in hand, smiling. Chioma was an angel at daycare today, and I aced my pharmacology exam. She stopped, seeing his face. What happened? Tan handed her the papers. Ada read them, her expression growing darker with each page. When she finished, she looked up at him. They're using me to take your son. Yes. Because I'm a refugee, because I'm undocumented, because they think it makes me look unfit, Tan interrupted. Which means I've put you in danger. I'm sorry, Ada. I should have seen this coming. Ada was quiet for a long moment. Then she straightened her shoulders. Then we fight. Ada, you don't understand these people. Yoon Tae-sik has connections, money, judges in his pocket. This isn't... I survived Boko Haram, Ada said firmly. I think I can handle some rich old man in a courtroom. He'll destroy you, your immigration status, your reputation. Let him try. Ada's eyes were fierce. Ji-hoon was dying, Tan. Dying. Now he's thriving. Medical records don't lie. Developmental charts don't lie. I have documentation of everything. His weight gain, sleep patterns, milestones. Before me and after me. The evidence is clear. Tan stared at this woman who'd walked into his life 6 weeks ago and turned everything upside down. Why are you doing this? He asked. You could walk away. Go back to the shelter. Stay out of this mess. I could, Ada agreed. But Ji-hoon needs me. And honestly, I need this too. Purpose. Family. Even an unconventional one. She paused. And maybe Maybe I care about you too, both of you. The admission hung in the air between them. Comment below if you think they can actually win this, because it's about to get so much worse. 2 weeks later, Seoul family court became a media circus. Crime boss vs. crime boss battle for baby read the headlines. Photographers swarmed, reporters shouted questions. Inside, Judge Kang Yeon-soo, known for being fair but strict, presided over a packed courtroom. Yoon Tae-sik sat on one side, silver-haired and dignified, playing the grieving grandfather perfectly. His legal team looked like they cost more than most people's houses. Tan sat on the other side with his lawyer, Baek Jin-woo. Ada sat beside him in a modest hanbok, Chioma in a carrier, radiating quiet dignity. Attorney Shin's opening statement was devastating. Your Honor, Kim Ji-hoon is 3 months old. He's lost his mother. His father is a known criminal whose business dealings involve violence, extortion, and organized crime. Mr. Kim has installed an illegal immigrant, a woman he met on an internet forum, as the child's primary caregiver. This woman has no legal status, no background checks, no verifiable credentials. She lives in Mr. Kim's home in an arrangement that raises serious questions about propriety and judgment. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Mr. Yoon simply wants what's best for his grandson. A stable home, proper education, protection from the dangerous world his father inhabits. Is that really too much to ask? Yoon took the stand and he was perfect, wiping away tears as he talked about Mireille, his beautiful, brilliant daughter. How she'd married Kim Tan to unite their families. How she'd died bringing Ji-hoon into the world. I've tried to be understanding, Yoon said, voice breaking. I've tried to give Kim Tan time to figure out fatherhood. But I cannot. I will not stand by and watch my grandson raised in a criminal's home by a stranger we know nothing about. My daughter deserves better. Ji-hoon deserves better. The gallery was on his side. You could feel it. Then Ada took the stand. She walked up calmly, wearing her modest clothes, Chioma still against her chest. She looked small and vulnerable until she spoke. Ms. Osakwe, Attorney Shin began with barely concealed disdain. You're currently in this country illegally, correct? My F2 visa application is being processed through proper legal channels, Ada replied in clear, perfect Korean. But yes, technically, my previous visa has expired. And you met Mr. Kim through an internet forum. After he searched for, what was it? A wet nurse? He searched for help for his dying son, and yes, I responded. Dying? Shin scoffed. That's rather dramatic. Is it? Ada remained calm. May I present evidence? She handed documents to the judge. Medical records from Dr. Kim Soo-hyun. Ji-hoon's charts from his first 3 months of life. This shows Ji-hoon's weight loss. He dropped from the 50th percentile to the 5th percentile in 12 weeks. He was failing to thrive. 3 different nannies quit because they couldn't help him. Seoul's top pediatrician found nothing physically wrong, but the baby kept getting worse. She pulled out more documents. These are from after I began caring for him. Weight gain, sleep improvement, developmental milestones, all documented by the same doctor who initially said nothing was wrong. The difference is clear. Judge Kang examined the documents, eyebrows raised. Babies need more than formula, Ada continued. They need connection, human warmth, a heartbeat, the feeling of being held by someone who's cared for infants before. I gave Ji-hoon what he needed, not as a job, but because I understood his pain. I lost my husband. I know what it's like to raise a child alone in impossible circumstances. But surely a professional nanny, Shin began. 3 professional nannies failed, Ada interrupted firmly. I succeeded because I didn't treat it like a job. I treated it like family. She gestured to Ji-hoon sitting in Tan's arms in the gallery, healthy, alert, smiling. Look at him now. That's not luck. That's love and care and consistency. That's what happens when people work together for a child's well-being. People work together, Shin's tone was mocking, or when a desperate man pays an illegal immigrant to... Careful, counsellor. Judge Kang warned. But Ada didn't need defending. She leaned forward slightly. I'm not being paid to love that baby. I'm not being paid to wake up at 2 a.m. when he cries, or sing him to sleep, or teach his father how to be a father. I do that because Jihoon needs me. And because Mr. Kim Tan is trying. He's a good father who was lost and needed help. There's no shame in that. The courtroom was silent. I don't know everything about Tan's business, Ada admitted. I know he loves his son desperately. I know Jihoon is thriving. I know we've created a stable, loving home. Is it conventional? No. But does it work? The evidence speaks for itself. She looked directly at Yoon Tae-sik. I'm sorry you lost your daughter. I lost my husband. I understand that grief. But taking Jihoon away from his father, from someone who loves him and is finally learning how to care for him, that won't bring Mirai back. It'll just create more pain. Judge Kang called a recess. I'll review all evidence and rule in 1 week. As they left the courtroom, Ada's hand found Tan's. Neither of them spoke. But the connection was there, solid, real. They thought they had a week. They had 3 days. It was midnight when everything went to hell. Tan was in his study going over business reports. Ada was in the nursery having just put both babies down. The penthouse was quiet, peaceful. Then Tan's phone lit up. Park Ji-hoon's name. Hyung Nim. Ji-hoon's voice was urgent, stressed. We have a major problem. Kwon Sung-min is gone, and 3 of our security team. They cleared out their lockers 2 hours ago. Tan's blood went cold. Coup. That's what I'm thinking. I've got loyal people sweeping your building now, but... The penthouse elevator dinged. That shouldn't be possible. Only Tan's keycard could access it. Unless someone had security clearance. Ji-hoon, they're here. Get back up now. Tan grabbed the gun from his desk drawer, something he hadn't touched in weeks, and moved toward the living room. The elevator doors opened. Kwon Sung-min stepped out, flanked by 4 armed men, all of them security team members Tan had trusted. Hyung Nim, Sung-min said, and the word was mocking now. We need to talk. About how you're all about to die? Tan's voice was ice. About how you've abandoned the organization for a baby and a refugee whore. The council voted. You're out. The kid goes to Yoon. The woman... Well, she's a liability that needs handling. Tan's finger moved to the trigger. Last chance to walk away. We're done taking orders from a man who chose fatherhood over power. Sung-min raised his weapon. 2 things happened simultaneously. Gunfire erupted in the living room. And Ada, hearing the noise, grabbed both babies and ran for the panic room hidden behind the bookshelf in the nursery. The fight was brutal. Close quarters. Desperate. Tan was outnumbered but fighting with something he'd never had before. A reason beyond survival. Every bullet, every move was about protecting 2 babies and 1 woman sleeping down the hall. He took down 1 attacker, then another. But Sung-min was skilled, trained, and had the advantage of numbers. One of Sung-min's men broke away, heading toward the nursery. No! Tan tried to intercept but was pinned down by gunfire. In the panic room, Ada heard footsteps approaching. Both babies were crying now, terrified by the noise. She covered their mouths gently, praying in Edo, in Korean, in every language she knew. The nursery door crashed open. The man with the gun entered, scanning for them. Ada held her breath, held the babies close. The bookshelf was supposed to be undetectable, supposed to be safe. The man walked closer. Then, crash. He went down hard. Park Ji-hoon and 6 loyal guards burst through the penthouse entrance, turning the tide completely. The fight was over in minutes. Sung-min and his traitors were subdued, 2 dead, the rest disarmed. Tan, bleeding from a graze wound on his shoulder, ran to the nursery. Ada, open up, it's me. Silence. Ada, please. It's over, it's safe. How do I know? Her voice was shaking, terrified. Because Ji-hoon's first real smile was on a Tuesday morning. You were singing him that Edo song about the moon. He grabbed your finger and smiled, and you cried because you were so happy. Please, Ada, trust me. The bookshelf clicked, moved. Ada emerged, clutching both babies to her chest, tears streaming down her face. Kioma was screaming. Jihoon was screaming. Ada was shaking so hard she could barely stand. Tan reached for them, and Ada collapsed into him. "We're okay," he murmured, holding all three of them. "We're okay. I've got you." But Ada was breaking down. "I can't. Tan, I can't do this. This life, it's too dangerous. Kioma she almost... I know." Tan's voice cracked. "I know, and you're right." He pulled back, looking at her directly. Blood on his face, exhaustion in his eyes, but something else too, determination. "I have to choose," he said. "The Empire or you. The Empire or Jihoon. The Empire or any kind of real life. Tan, I choose you. All of you." Park Jihoon entered the nursery. "Hyungnim, we need to move you somewhere safe. If Sungmin talked to others..." "No," Tan said firmly. "No more running, no more hiding. It ends now." "What are you saying?" Tan looked at Ada and the babies, his entire world in one frame. "I'm saying I'm done. With all of it. The organization, the territory, the empire. I'm liquidating everything." "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious in my life." Tan's voice was steel. "Mireille died because of this world. I won't let Jihoon grow up in it. Or Kioma. Or Ada." Ada stared at him. "You'd give up everything?" "I'd give up everything that doesn't matter. And the only things that matter are standing right here." "If you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Hit that button because the ending is going to blow your mind." 6 months later, Kim Tan's empire was gone. Not destroyed. Transformed. He'd made a deal with prosecutors, immunity in exchange for information on rival organizations. Every criminal operation was systematically dismantled. Clubs sold to legitimate buyers. Protection rackets ended. Gambling operations shut down. The money laundered clean through legal channels. Some organization members were furious, others were relieved. All of them received generous severance packages. The custody hearing resumed with dramatically different circumstances. Judge Kang reviewed the new evidence. Tan's legitimate business transformation. Ada's approved F2 visa. Medical documentation of Jihoon's continued health. And character witnesses from unexpected sources. Park Ji-hoon testified about Tan's dedication as a father. Dr. Kim Soo-hyun testified about Jihoon's miraculous improvement. Even some of Tan's former organization members testified, reluctantly, that he'd always been fair, never cruel without cause. Judge Kang's ruling was clear. While Mr. Kim's past is concerning, the evidence shows Jihoon is thriving in his current environment. Custody granted to Kim Tan, with supervised monthly visits from grandfather Yoon Tae-sik. Yoon's face was fury, but he accepted it. Outside the courthouse, he approached Tan. "You won," Yoon said quietly. "But know this, I'm watching. If that boy suffers because of your choices..." "He won't," Tan interrupted. "I promise you, on Mirai's memory." The two men stared at each other. Former enemies, future family. "She loved you," Yoon finally said. "I hated that, but she did. Maybe she saw something I didn't. She saw the man I could be. I'm trying to become him." The Kim Tan Foundation opened 3 months later. Headquarters in a renovated building in Mapo. Mission statement: refugee support, maternal health services, community development, educational programs. Former organization members were offered legitimate positions. Park Ji-hoon became Director of Operations. Lee Kang-dae ran community outreach. Choi Min-seok handled finances. Ada led the maternal health clinic. By then, she'd graduated from Seoul National University with honors. She provided prenatal care, postpartum support, lactation consulting, everything she'd wished she had in those refugee camps. The opening day was covered by every major news outlet. Former crime boss turned philanthropist read the headlines. The narrative had shifted. Tan cut the ribbon with Jihoon in his arms and Ada by his side. "I spent years taking from this city. he told the crowd. Now I want to give back. This foundation is dedicated to my late wife, Yoon Mire, who believed in second chances, and to every person who's ever felt lost, desperate, or forgotten. We see you. We're here for you. The first family they helped was Syrian, a mother and 3 children fleeing war. Ada personally provided their postpartum care, speaking to them in English since they hadn't learned Korean yet. You're safe now, Ada told the mother. I know it doesn't feel like it yet, but you are. The woman cried in her arms. Slowly, grudgingly, the community began to accept them. The transformation wasn't easy, there were setbacks. Former enemies who didn't trust the change, media stories questioning his motives. But Tan kept going. One evening, 6 months after the foundation opened, Tan and Ada stood on the penthouse balcony. Both babies were finally asleep after a long day. Do you miss it? Ada asked. The power? The control? Tan considered the question honestly. Sometimes. The certainty of it. Knowing exactly where you stand. But Ada, I don't miss the emptiness. Or the fear. I was dying inside. I just didn't know it until Jihoon forced me to confront it. And now I'm alive. Actually alive. For the first time in my adult life. Ada's hand found his. They'd been dancing around their feelings for months. Partners. Co-parents. Something more that neither had named yet. I love you, Tan said quietly. I don't know when it happened. Maybe that first morning when you saved my son. Maybe gradually over these months. But I love you. Both of you. Ada turned to face him. I love you too. And I'm terrified of it. Why? Because the last man I loved died. Because loving people means you can lose them. Because... Tan kissed her. Gentle. Patient. Real. We're all going to die eventually, he said when they pulled apart. But we're alive now. Shouldn't we make it count? Ada smiled. When did you become a philosopher? When I became a father. Spring in Seoul. Cherry blossoms falling like snow across Hangang Park. Jihoon, 2.5 years old now, ran through the pink petals shouting in mixed Korean and Edo. Appa! Mama Ada! Bois! Look! Chioma, 6 months younger but just as fast, chased after him. Wait! Ada sat on a picnic blanket, visibly pregnant with their 3rd child. She'd defended her master's thesis in nursing 3 weeks ago. Now she was director of maternal health services at the Kim Tan Foundation, overseeing programs that had helped over 800 families. Tan joined her, placing his hand on her belly. He's kicking today, he said. She, Ada corrected with a smile. It's a girl, I'm sure. Either way, they're lucky. Why? Because they get you as a mother, both of you. He gestured to Jihoon and Chioma, now building something with sticks and flowers. They'll grow up knowing what real strength looks like. Ada leaned against him. We did it, Tan. Actually did it. We survived. More than that. We built something real, something good. Jihoon ran back to them. Appa! Noliteo. Playground. Tan lifted his son, their son now in every way that mattered, and spun him around. Jihoon's laughter filled the air. Later that evening, in their home, no longer just Tan's penthouse but a real family home, they sat around the dinner table. Korean food and Nigerian food mixed together. Kimchi next to jollof rice, bulgogi next to egusi soup. Jihoon tried to use chopsticks, dropping rice everywhere. Chioma sang a Korean nursery rhyme with her adorable Edo accent. This was the empire Kim Tan had built. Not territory or money or fear, but love. Messy, complicated, beautiful love. I used to think strength was never showing weakness, Tan said later after the kids were in bed holding Ada close. I thought power meant control, fear, dominance. But that's not strength. That's just survival. What's real strength? Ada asked. This. Choosing love even when it's terrifying. Building something that lasts. Protecting what matters. Being vulnerable enough to let people in. He looked at his family. Ada, pregnant with their daughter, Jihoon and Chioma, sleeping soundly, the foundation thriving, a life rebuilt from nothing. I was brought to my knees by a crying baby, Tan said softly, and saved by a woman brave enough to believe I could change. That's the real story. Not about power, about redemption. Ada kissed him. And we're just getting started. Outside, Seoul glittered. Inside, a family slept. 2 adults who'd survived impossible odds. 3 children who would grow up knowing both cultures, both languages, both worlds. An empire built on fear had crumbled. An empire built on love would endure. If this story moved you, drop a like. Comment what part hit you hardest. And subscribe because we tell stories about real people facing impossible choices. Stories about second chances. Stories about love winning against all odds. This is just the beginning.